wanted to kind of dive in, and especially following on from our chat with Natalie last week, how can athletes work to overcome a lot of these challenges? How can we take a bad training session, take a challenge that arises in our personal lives, take a missed lift on meet day and work through that, still putting in the work, riding that wave out like you talk about, and then be able to come back, show up for that lift and still find that highest potential?
Well, you said it multiple times right there. You said the term work. It's a lot of work. Every individual. It doesn't matter what they respond to from a coaching standpoint. It doesn't matter how they're built. It takes more work to get to that point where you can control that part of yourself than going into the gym itself. I think it's easy to see a program and say, I got this. Go into the gym, go get under a bar, do these exercises, feel good, walk through the motions some days, which some days that's what it takes, right? And then just not worry about or not focus on the other factors that go into your overall success. Because when people go into the gym, it's a hobby to a lot of us, right? It's a escape. It's a therapy for a lot of people. So I think some people forget that when you compete in powerlifting, you are willingly signing up for a competition. There's a contract that comes with that for yourself. There should be anyway. That says, I'm signing up for this. This is something I want to do. I'm going up there to compete. I'm going up there to set goals and go work to achieve them. That means that you have to accept and you have to execute everything else that comes along with that. And that comes with controlling everything about your life that you can control. We understand that there are a lot of things that are out of our control, factors that we have no control over. And I think that's one of the biggest things, and I preach that to a lot of people that I work with, is we all have lives. Things happen. Stuff pops up. There's things that are going to be on our mind. If we work hard, and it takes hard work to only focus on the things and to perfect, to a certain standpoint, the things that we can control every single day in a 24-hour period, then that is going to take care of such a huge part of that mindset and of the overall preparation. When we get to the point where we let those outside factors constantly come in, and we know it's easier said than done to keep them out, right? No, I don't think anybody is perfect at it. Life affects everybody. But the more frequently we let things come in that we have no control over. And my dad always used to say, and he still says it to this day, don't let anybody or anything live in your head rent free. I think that's like a old wise saying right there, right?
I love that line.
So let's bring it back. But don't let anything or anybody live in your head rent free. And the more you do, the less you're going to be able to have control over every other situation that you're in, especially training. And some of my training partners and some of my clients, and I didn't do this from a malicious standpoint, but when we would train at Union together, they'd come in through the doors and I could tell I could expect what their day was going to be like. If you come in that door like this, chest up, eyes straight ahead, feeling good, I know that there's a damn good chance you're going to have a really good session. It's not always going to be like that. If you come in and your head's hung down a little bit and your shoulders are a little forward, I know that something's a little off because I know who you are as an individual, right? And I know that's not your norm. I've legitimately taken some of my training partners and my clients and I said, hey, I want you to do me a favor before we get started. Walk back out those doors, turn around, and come back in ready to train for these next 2 hours. You owe it to yourself to be solely focused on this and making yourself better. It's only 2 hours, and for some people it's only 2 hours, like 4 times a week, 3 times a week. That's not that much in the grand scheme of things. You owe it to yourself and everybody else that you're with to come in, and for those 2 hours, this is the only thing that matters. You are the only thing that matters. Nothing else outside of these doors should be able to have an impact on what you're doing and what you're about to accomplish. Easier said than done, but that's gotta be, when you have big goals, I mean, shit, when you have just regular goals, like that's what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that I always try to communicate with everybody is, from a weekly basis, when we check in at the end of the week or during the week, are you controlling everything you can? How's the week going? What do you got going on? And that's where that communication really comes into play. So that's step one.
Yeah, that's first step. And I remember we learned that from you when you were on in January, and it was such a powerful thing for me. I latched on to, and I've really incorporated in a lot of areas of my life. You were talking about how when you work with athletes, you tell them, like, I don't care what you're thinking about when you're driving to the gym. I don't care what you're thinking about when you're walking up to the doors. The second you step through that door, you are only thinking about training. Mm-hmm. And I think that's such a powerful perspective, because I've actually been working to expand that to every single area of my life. Mm-hmm. No matter what I'm doing, I try to be 100% in that moment, mm-hmm. focused on that task. And I found that it's kind of a hack in productivity, because you can be so much more effective when you are 100% focused on whatever it is you're doing at that moment, mm-hmm. that you can actually get more work done in less time.
That's right.
And I think that's how so many of these people that are such high performers in life, you know, you look at like the Elon Musks of the world, mm-hmm. like, that can just accomplish so much in the same 24-hour period. I think that's how they do it, is mm-hmm. they can just be so intensely dedicated to one thing at a time. And I think that's a very powerful skill that we can all work to build. Mm-hmm. If you're hanging out with your kids or hanging out with your family, you're only focused on your family. You're not sitting there scrolling through Instagram, you know, doing whatever else you might be doing. Like, you're with your family. Mm-hmm. And then an hour later, maybe you need to go work, and then you go to a different room, shut everything else out, and you work for an hour, and you focus on just that. You put on, there's all these do not disturb mode filters you can put on your phone now. I play with those a lot. And so the same thing with training I talked about. You know, if you can, I can come down to the gym downstairs and just do 20 minutes of really intense focus work and feel like I trained for an hour and a half. Right. You know, so I think we can incorporate that kind of mindset into everything we do in life. Now, I think it's a skill that, just like anything else, has to be built. Yes. But it's one that is just as important as the program training we've got to do. Because if you're not showing up with 100% focus on that training, you're not going to have as effective of a session as you could have had. And not only that, but you could open yourself up to things like injuries.
That's right.
You know, so that's step one. How do we work to overcome some of those so like say, you know, you're an athlete, you're walking into the gym and your head is just buzzing with whatever, you had a bad day at work, your boss got onto you, whatever happened. How do you, as the athlete, then recover from that moment?
Well, I want to preface this by saying the reason that I have this outlook that I do on these topics is because I've been on that other side, you know, in the past. I've had my own shit going on in life that, you know, got to me in certain ways, and I had to kind of dig back out of it. So when I say these things, it's not coming from a standpoint of like not being relatable. It's because I've lived this and I've learned what does work. And the best thing, anytime I experience something like that, specifically going into a training session, I made sure that, let's say I'm driving to the gym, okay? I sit in the parking lot and I turn the music off and I don't have my phone around me and I am just breathing. I'm not even thinking about the training session, right? I'm not there yet. I don't need to think about it. I'm sitting there and I'm breathing and I'm taking deep breaths and I'm controlling my heart rate and I'm having internal conversation with myself. Sometimes external. Sometimes I'm talking out loud to myself and I'm reminding myself that, dude, everything's good. Everything's good. We're getting one day at a time. We're going to go in. We're going to have a good training session. Okay. Then when we leave the training session, we'll focus on everything else. But for this next 90 minutes, 2 hours, you're focusing on what's right in front of you. And you're doing that because you love it. And that's something that I think we get lost in. The more we do something and the better we try to be at it, the the easier it is to forget why we started in the first place. And you have to consistently remind yourself why you love it and why you do it and how far you've come, how much progress you've really made, and how much you've grown as an individual throughout that process. And I feel like the more we remind ourselves of that, the more we would be able to control our thoughts, control our emotions, get through challenging times and in tough days, and just stay the course. Yeah. But that has to come from a willingness to be able to do that. You have to want to be able to do that. You can't run away from it. And I think it's becoming easier to run away from those types of things. If I'm going to the gym and I had a shitty day at work, or my significant other and I got in an argument, let me see what's going on, or let me find something else to think about, even if you're not on your phone. So it's being in that moment and being present and understanding what needs to be done in order to achieve this task that's right in front of you. And you mentioned something about being the productivity that comes along with that type of mindset. Like when you go into the gym, this is the only thing that matters. It's easy for somebody to say, well, that's very selfish, because there's other things going on out there that matter much more. Well, there are. And maybe your life, maybe you're going through something in life that is much more important than that training session. But if you can't be focused on yourself and building up yourself for that amount of time, then you're not going to be the person that you need to when you leave there. So if you're training for 2 hours, but you're not present mentally and you're thinking about everything else that's going on, when you leave there, you're not going to be any better than when you walked in. And you're probably going to be worse to some extent. Yeah. So that dedicated time that you're focusing on just yourself and nothing else matters is helping you to be a better person. And it's actually building more efficiency in other areas, because then you can be more present in those areas after that. So I know I talked in a circle bit there, but that's just something that I wanted to touch on.
No.